It's something as a club at TW Braga we always want to continue our learning experience by bringing in people that's coached and played in the professional game. And it's an absolute pleasure to have Schaick with us, who spent 10 years at Ajax, which is one of the biggest clubs in world football. And it's going to be very interesting to listen to Eddie's experiences that he's had there, and also just that he stepped down from his position. It'll be quite interesting to hear what he's doing in his future. And I'm sure we'll learn a load of things from Eddie. So without further ado, we're going to give a big warm welcome to Schaick and really enjoy the night.
Thanks, Tim, for the introduction and invitation, of course, to come to Belfast again. It's not the first time. Hopefully, not the last time either. What I want to do, I'm going to talk a little bit about youth football development structures, some innovative developments, some changes that are happening currently with different clubs. And maybe we discuss the future model of player development, and then hopefully there is something in there for everybody. Yeah? So there is an almost ideal way to develop a player, but then you also need the circumstances that are going to be close to being perfect. You mentioned already that we only play two games since December, right? So there's always circumstances that there is a willingness of people, there's players, there's staff, but there's also always limitations, and the limitations you have to overcome at some point in order to continue to grow. And in every club, every organization, there is something that can go slightly better. Also want to talk a little bit about scouting and player detection. Scouting / player detection. Those are two different subjects, and we can have a conversation about that as well, to see how clubs are looking at future players for their academy model. My background specifically is youth football, youth soccer, for the Americans here. And I'm more or less specialized. I've done all age groups, boys, girls, women, adult, but more or less specialized in 11 to 12-year-olds. That's a little bit my niche. And it is also a message that I usually bring when we do trainer-coach events. You know, you are not a magician. You cannot do all age groups. You have to specialize yourself in a certain age group and then try to become the best you can be. There's many colleagues that I have as well. They say, no, I want to be an assistant manager. I want to be a head coach. It's also where the money is most of the time. You know, but sometimes you need to look in the mirror and say, okay, what are your qualities? And where are your qualities best fitted? That sometimes is a little bit difficult as well. To start, you have children's football, youth football, until the age of roughly 18, 19. That is about development, step by step, and it's a process. Doesn't go in a straight line. It goes with bumps in the road. So there's good days and there's bad days. There's good seasons and sometimes there's a bad season. That's part of life as well. And then you have the adult football. The adult football is about winning. It's about results. About money as well. So both go hand in hand, but both are also separated from each other. When you listen carefully to news, sports channels on TV, the so-called people that know about the game and about development, they continuously mix. The football is not good. What does that mean? Is it the professional football? Is it the youth football? Is it the structure and the educational part of the federation? What? You know, it's not always that. It's not always that specific. No. You can ask questions anytime you want, and I'll come back to my story, hopefully. The general thought that I want to present is that there's 3 groups in a youth academy. You have 8 to 12, it's the foundation group, then you have 13 to 16, and then you have 17 to 19. 8 to 12 is the foundation, is most important, because that is where children are capable of learning all the elements of the football. The dribbling, the passing, the heading, the positional play, the finishing. This is where you can train the hell out of them. They'll recover quickly, yeah, and they can absorb the information as quickly as possible and apply it to the field. Yeah. If you do everything right there, that is your base to continue towards the future. In many academies, at that age, you train 4 times in a week. 4 times, it's a block of 2 hours, normally, without any water breaks. Okay, so for the US people here, I go there every year as well, then every 20 minutes we have to take a water break. If you are from the south, okay, I can understand that in summertime, but kids also have to learn and teach themselves, yeah. You need proper fluids into your system, yeah, and you should be able to train at high intensity for a block of 2 hours. Now, the 2-hour blocks are not necessarily filled with football-related exercises. Yeah, since you have a block of 2 hours, you can have speed and coordination, you can have flexibility, you can have core stability exercises as well. So what you see is that when there is a block of 4 trainings, yeah, 2 trainings, the first 30 minutes, it's physical training without the ball, working on the mechanics of running, for example, working on the first step. So the first step is trainable. So if you change the mechanics of the running with children, the first step, if the first step is explosive, you can generate more speed. That is trainable. So the research that we have coming from the Ajax Academy model is that children are becoming faster between 2 and 10% between the age of 8 and 12, just through a different mechanical way of running. So you can have 2 blocks where you work on speed and coordination and on the mechanics of running, and then there's also usually 1 or 2 blocks where you work on everything from here to up. And it's not with weights between 8 and 12, but everything is with your body weight. Yeah? So they do planking, they do push-ups, but no crunches. You know, they don't do any exercises that require some detailed movements of the body. They make it very, very basic, and everything is also game related. So they may do planking with the ball. So 2 players are across from each other, and they have to move a ball to each other while they are planking. Yeah? So then one arm comes loose, so you have to rebalance yourself, and then the staff is helping you to make sure that you focus on your core area. So 4 blocks of 2 hours. Then there's usually 1 game in the weekend. So then you are at roughly 9 hours. That is 9 hours of structured football. That is still not enough to become the best player you want to be. Because for ideal player development, there also needs to be free training. There needs to be non-structured football. So the coaching staff will give the kids homework assignments. So there's certain skills that they need to master in their own time. And the kids need to find time to work on their own with friends or with relatives, etc., etc. To come close to about 20 hours in the week. The 20 hours not necessarily means that you have to be physically active outside or inside, depending on weather circumstances. But if you speak with somebody about football or soccer, or if you watch a game on television, that also can be part of the 20 hours. PlayStation, however, no. If you see the results now, the research in the US on kids between 13 and 16, they spend 4 hours a day on electronics. Yeah, iPad, PlayStation, you name it. Now, Europe is not far behind, but there's a lot of time that kids can create to start working on their own. But there needs to be a certain structure for it. So 8 to 12 is the foundation of football. There you can see how good somebody can become. Those are very strong indicators. And the indicators that we are using are very simple. There's 4. It's technique, so it's the technical ability, which not only means that you have ball control and you have certain skills and you can beat somebody 1 against 1. It is also the technique of passing, the technique of heading, the technique of finishing, the technique of receiving a ball. So all technical aspects of the game are being put in there. Then there's the eye, the eye of insight or football intelligence. It's the decision making when you're on the pitch, the decision making when you have the ball, and the decision making when you don't have the ball. When do you support? When do you track back? When do you tackle? When do you get involved? So that's more the tactical component in there. Then there's the S from speed, starting speed, acceleration speed, turning speed. And we all know Messi, right? And Cristiano Ronaldo? Yes. They have starting speed, acceleration speed, and then they can turn on the burners. They have 3 speed levels. Very few in the world have 3 speed levels. So that is one physical component that they have that make them outstanding. And besides technical and tactical, that is something special that they have. And the last piece is the personality. Learning ability. Present day is on top of the list. Can you process information and apply it to the field? A lot of clubs, a lot of coaches, a lot of scouts are looking at kids that have learning ability. So you should be able to show a kid something, and that kid should apply it to the field and even make it more perfect than the example that was given. So those are the indicators that they're using. Personality also reflects to responsibility, discipline, respect, sportsmanship, creativity, being proactive. So there's a lot of elements in there. And the way clubs are looking and say, okay, if we find kids that have all the 4 elements, that's gold. That's money in the bank. But, and you come to the next phase. So 8 to 12, you can have your structure, you can have your player pool, you can indicate and also see which ones have the 4 elements. But when you go to the age group 13 to 16, what is changing? What is changing? What is changing in the US when you're 14?
Size.
Okay. So there's physical growth, there's psychological growth, there's hormones that are starting to be in effect. What about school? What happens at 14?
Or
Where do you go to?
OHS.
High school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So high school. High school means that the children need to learn how to plan. It's homework, right? Boys have difficulties with that. Girls are much better with that. Yeah. But it takes energy from an individual. So there's a physical component that is changing, there's a psychological component that is changing. The school situation is changing as well, with more responsibility there. And usually in the family, the kids at that age, between 13 and 16, are getting more responsibility as well. They have to help with younger siblings. They have to clean their own room. So the load is getting more and more between 13 and 16. On the physical side, the bone structure is growing faster than the muscle structure, which means that everything is going to be tight. All your muscles and tendons are like a guitar string. They're very, very tight, which means that if you do explosive training, you're subject to injuries. So you have the kneecap injuries, you have the lower back injuries, the groin injuries, etc., etc. So you have to adjust the training program the moment kids are getting into that phase. So between 13 and 16, what is very important is testing. So you have every 6 weeks you measure the length of a plate, the length of the upper body in relation to the legs. Because in the puberty phase, the first thing that is changing, hands and feet are growing. Yeah. So if you have a 13, 14-year-old at the house, and he's asking for new shoes, but you said, we just got new shoes. That's an indicator. Growth spurt. The legs are second. The arms and legs are growing in the second phase. So you see kids that are moving a little bit awkward on the field. They're not in balance. The brain wants to, but the mind, difficult for that. And then you are subject to injuries if you don't take care of them in that particular phase. In the final phase, it's the shoulders that are getting a little bit broader. So then you know that you're getting close, that they're out of the puberty phase. For every individual, it is different. So it's not like everybody's going into a puberty phase at the same time. It's all very individual. So what you see now, between 13 and 16, there's team training, then there is small group training, and sometimes it is with a specific theme. Could be heading, could be flexibility, could be passing, could be positional play, could be finishing, could be crossing. And then there's individual training based upon the biological age of the player. So every player has an individual chart with exercises for personal development based upon in which biological state you are. Yeah? So it becomes very delicate between 13 and 16. This is also the age that most kids are stopping with soccer and football. Because it's not fun anymore. And why is it not fun? Because they feel imprisoned in their own system. They distance themselves a little bit from the parents because they're trying to develop their own personality, and they don't want to be told. Yeah? But usually what you see is that the training load is increasing between 13 and 16. Now we're getting serious about, and now we're going to increase the load. But that's exactly what you should not do, because the load is already increasing in the high school, it's already increasing at home, and then the body is changing and the hormones are building, and girls become interesting for boys, and boys become interesting for girls, and they want money, so they want to work, and they want to drive a car, and they want to have a scooter, and they want to... There's too many things going on at the same time. So an individual approach helps in that process. They need a mentor, they need somebody to speak to. And if it's only team training, yeah, it's hit or miss. If it's team training and you have also blocks of small group training, and I will explain how you can implement that, you have a better chance. But if you have also the individual path for children, then you have a good chance they stay involved in the structure of the football. So the training, it's still 4 times training in the week, but the training sessions are shorter. It's not 4 times 2 hours, it's 4 times an hour and a half. Because you really have to protect the body, you have to protect them from injuries, so you train a little bit shorter, and that gives them also more time for homework in school, because that balance needs to be in place as well. So with the 4 training moments you have, the first 20 minutes on the first session could be the physical training with flexibility and core stability, and the same on training number 3. And then training number 2 and number 4, the first 20 minutes, you have the specific theme training. So you put them in a group of 5 or 6, and they're working on something that they need to master. Sometimes that gets a little dull, so what we do then is that, like with wrestling and martial arts, we put them in weight classes. 40 or 60 pounds there, 70 pounds there, 80 pounds there. Yeah, and then we do some physical training, or we do some exercises where they can release some of their energy and keep them happy. Now, if you manage to give them a little bit of this different structure, what happens is the kids give you a lot back, because they come with ideas. Coach, can we do this? Is it possible that we do it this way? If we have small group training, is it an idea? Yeah, so they take ownership of their own development. That is something that, of course, is very precious. So it's still 4 sessions. Yeah. A little bit shorter in time. 1 match in the weekend. And there's a little bit less free training. We don't demand or expect them to take 20 hours into the week. Between 8 and 12, that would be perfect. That's the foundation. Between 13 and 16, we take a little bit of a step back. It also has consequences for players on game day. So if they are in the puberty phase, if the legs are growing extremely fast and the muscle and tendon system is tight, yeah, we have to limit their playing time. We cannot push them for a full match. So usually they play 40 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, but it's already been predetermined before the match. So it has no effect on the score in the match. You know, before the match, the kids know, they know which rotations are coming, just to protect them from injuries. Because if a kid that's 15, for example, or 16, gets an injury, groin injury. Okay, he's out 3 weeks. He's coming back into the group. Yeah, he's coming back in the group, but he has no value for the group. Yeah, and the group is like, it's like animal world. If a kid has no value for the group, they want to kick that person out. So this person is back in the group and now is going to overcompensate to get back. Yeah, and then the next injury is coming. Lower back. Yeah, so the moment there is an injury pattern, there's other problems coming as well on the social side, but also you are subject to more injuries, and then if that happens 2 or 3 times, then the spirit in the kid is gone. Doesn't want to play anymore. So it's very important to protect the player in that phase. What we do, what we try as well, is to have every training session have a little eye-to-eye with the player. How do you feel? Did you sleep well? How was school? Girlfriend? Yes? Good? That could be enough. Little smile on their faces and they can move on again. But if you ignore them, you know, they may go to their own dark side and we may not be able to reach them anymore. So it's important to keep that line of communication open. But as a parent, it is difficult. I have a 16-year-old at the house as well. Okay, he comes home from school. So, well, how was school? Did you have a good day? You hungry? Yeah. And then he's in his room. Okay. So I have to figure out something. And I figured it out. So once a week, I ignore him. He comes home, I don't talk to him. He comes in, I just do my own stuff. I'm in the kitchen and he doesn't, and then he comes. Then he comes, because he's hungry. Hungry, thirsty, and he knows I'm going to fix himself. And then you start talking about school. Okay, but the moment you ask him, so how was school? You have a good day? So it's very, very, very delicate. And the problem, not the problem, but the quality that man don't possess, in general, is that we don't listen. We want to give advice to a player. Sometimes also to our spouse. Not always a good thing. Sometimes you just need to listen, don't you? Yeah? Sometimes it's better just to listen. So if the kid, my son, if he comes with a story and something happened in the school, I listen, okay. That's good. Well, maybe not so good. Did you fix it? Who's going to fix it? Doesn't sound good. What happened? So you just listen, but don't give advice. Don't come with solutions, because then they go back to their isolated situation. Now, I have another rule with him, and it helps pretty good. If he's in his room, doors open. Not allowed to close the door. Doors open, and if we need him, we knock still on the door to see if we can come in, but the door is never closed. You are part of the family, and as long as you are part of the family in this house, the doors are open. And he's okay with that. So, but you have to find a way to communicate with them when they are in that puberty phase, because there's a lot of things happening there, and they don't know. They don't know how they feel. They don't know. And we've all been through it as well, and you have to figure it out on your own in a certain way, but it helps, or it goes quicker if somebody can help you a little bit in that phase. Okay, then the final phase, 17 to 19. So 8 to 12, it's parent-driven. Parents take the kids to the fields. Parents make sure that the bag is full of clothing and shin guards and water and snacks and everything. 13 to 16, they're trying to figure out who they are and where they want to go. They don't know. They like soccer, they like the football. Are they passionate about it? Yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes no. And then 17 to 19, they're coming out of this puberty phase. Yeah, they're young adults. They think they own the world, you know, and then they can make a decision on their own whether they want to go full force with this particular sport, yes or no. They either go full force or they kind of drift away and say, no, I just play for enjoyment and for social reasons, but I also have my job and my girlfriend and so on and so forth. And then it becomes serious matter. It's 17. So in Europe, 17 is also where the first measurement takes place, and how are you in relation to other top talents in Europe. And then 19, under 19 is the next measurement. Compare that to the US, where you have under 16 and under 18. Yeah, under 16 in Europe, they are still in the puberty phase. Nobody takes that age group seriously. We look at it, but they're still babies. Don't worry about it. Under 18, they're not mature enough, and they're cognitively not developed the way they should. So we kind of say, yeah, they look good, but let's wait until it's under 19. Then under 19 in the US is the first year of college. So they're already gone. But in Holland and in other places, under 19, you are still there with your club. And then you can see how good you can become. Under 17 is a strong indicator. Under 19, it's game time. Now, in the Ajax model, where I worked for 10 years, in that pyramid of development, you try to get into that under 19 squad. There's 85% chance that you start with a contract. It's a very high percentage. 85% of the kids, that age group, roughly 18, 20 kids, start with a contract. 2, on average, into first team squad, good contract. 6 or 7 in the under 23 squad, under contract. And 6 or 7 are being released to other clubs in the country. Usually 1 is academically strong, so he goes to the US on scholarship, academics and sports. And 1, the body is not strong enough. Go from one injury to another injury. The mind is okay, the body can just not follow. So 1 is dropping off the chart, unfortunately. But those are a little bit the statistics that we're looking at. If we don't meet the statistics, so for example, we are not capable of bringing 2 kids from under 19 into first team squad, it has massive impact on the staff. We are not blaming the kids, but the first people that are going to be blamed is the staff. The staff is not delivering. And maybe the program needs to revision. Yeah, so the staff, usually we see then that 4 or 5 staff people are out and the program is changing again. Children, and this is common in many clubs, children are with a club for 1 season. Yeah? And then in December there is a meeting with the parents about the improvement stages, the areas of improvement, and the things that should go a little bit differently. And then in April is the second meeting, and then the player gets to hear whether he can stay or whether he's going to be released. But it's the same for the staff. Staff is there for 1 year. Yeah. They have to show added value. If they show added value, they have a chance they can stay. If they don't have added value, is the same. So the staff is feeling the same pressure as what the kids are feeling. And we think that is healthy. We don't want people to lean back and say, no, you know, I play at Ajax, or my coach at Ajax, so hey, all is good. You have to show added value. And if you show added value, you accelerate the development of yourself and of the children. Any question? Yeah.
We have a system over here, Eddie, whereby you were saying early on that a coach can't coach at all levels.
Correct.
In Belfast, Northern Ireland in general, we have coaches who will start with an under-9 team and take them right the whole way through till they're under 16 or 17.
Yeah.
Are you saying that if they're specific for that one age group,
Yeah.
then they should let that team move to the next group?
Yeah.
So you set those building blocks in process with the actual coaching standards.
I think that is also better for the children because they get different impulses from different people. And I know from myself when I worked in other countries, and sometimes you have a team for 2 years, you become friendly with certain kids. Certain kids you just, these kids. And certain kids you have nothing with. Certain parents you like, certain parents you dislike. You know, so you're not objective anymore in your judgments because you also take the social relationships in that package. Right? But if the kids are just moving through the pipeline and they go from one specialist to another specialist, that is probably much better for development, and it goes quicker in that way. But it is difficult to find out for yourself where are you best suited. But that is we also, and many clubs have that, they have an internal trainer coach education program. So the coaches have to fill out a self-reflection form. What are you good at? What are your areas of improvement? What can we do to help? And how does the club look at you as an educator? Are you a good trainer? Or are you a good coach during game day? Or are you both? And where do you need help? There's people that are extremely good in coaching, can motivate kids. They put the players in the right position. They look at the match and they find the weakest link at the opponent and they make 1 or 2 changes and things change. Like when Man United was playing against Seville in Champions League. Seville changed 2 players 12 minutes before end, and the game changed instantly because he saw something where they could gain some benefit. Ferguson was a master in that as well. Put in the right people in the right position and also make changes. But others are very much equipped in training. They're very good in training and making kids better in the training environment, but are not so good in the coaching. So you have trainers and you have coaches, and we all talk about it like it's one person, but also there's something to give. I want to talk briefly about scouting and player detection. Scouting is more where we look at a group of children and we say, that's the best one. But my grandma can see it too. That's the best one. It's easy. Okay. And player detection is more looking at, say, okay, we see a group of 11, 12-year-olds. They train, they play. Which one is the best one in 6 years? And then you have to look with different eyes because you don't know. So you have to look at family situation, for example. So do we do an intake with parents? What is their sports background? What type of work are they involved in? Is there more siblings in the family? How's the structure of the family? Where do they live? Yeah, so we need to have an idea on where the stress levels are in the family. So it becomes very intimate. And sometimes we see that parents are not opening up. They don't want you to come close at first. And other parents, they are not afraid to share their household. But on the other hand, parents want to speak to the coach about playing time, about the position. So I've asked parents at times and said, okay, I said, you are watching my trainings, you are watching my games, you have an opinion about how I do my rotations, you have an opinion about playing time, you don't always agree, yeah. Okay. Well, maybe I can come to your house on a Saturday afternoon, I park myself on the couch and I'm going to evaluate how you raise your kids. What about that? No. So, the message is, if kids are going to school, are the parents in the classroom? When the teacher is no, okay. Well, when they come to football, the parents are welcome to watch and observe, but they also should be a parent. They care about their kid, they love their kid in good times and bad times. But they should not overstep the boundaries too much. Not only during the training, but also not during the matches. We had a conversation today that many times we can give a child a certain assignment for a match. I want you to have 4 crosses in the first half. So I am going to observe him and I'm going to value his qualities based upon that. The parents don't know that. The parents don't understand why he's not shooting on goal, for example. Well, he knows he needs to. So if the parent is saying, hey, you need to shoot on target, but the coach says, no, you need to cross, and maybe he has an idea on his own as well. It's very confusing. So it's better for the parents to be parent. But I know it's very difficult. So all the parents are together and one team, the parents are organized and it's okay, we know how to behave, but then the other team is starting and it's building and building. And then if the game is exciting, of course there's a lot of emotions flying. But anyhow. Scouting. Now, I'll give you an example. I worked in the Middle East as well, and there, I believe it was 2004, or not sure, there was a swimming event. It was a swimming event, and one athlete came in as number 3 on the 200 meters swimming, and got a bronze medal. Is that good? Bronze medal? Yeah, pretty good. Bronze. Yoo-hoo! Bronze medal is a bronze medal. Yeah. Now, there was only 3 players in the race. And number 3 came in 20 seconds after number 1. So now I ask you again. Was that good?
Not the worst.
Not the worst, no. But you already start like, maybe it wasn't that good. But then when I tell you that this was the one that was coming in at number 3, was a 12-year-old, and he was swimming against adults. Now we're changing again. So within 30 seconds we can have another opinion again about an athlete. And that is also what we do when we see children play football. So sometimes in smaller communities, you say, wow, it's under 14 match. I like that left midfielder, but he's a little bit too short, too skinny. Well, then you need to find out, how old is he? Maybe he's there, otherwise they don't have enough players. Maybe he's not 13, maybe he's 10. So you need to get as much information as possible, and then you also need to look at the birth month. At present day, the clubs are all looking at kids born October, November, December. Because in any academy, and they go by calendar year, 65% is born between January and June. They're a little bit more mature physically, so they look better. So it's easier to spot them. And the kids that are being overlooked are October, November, December kids, because they're shorter, a little bit more skinny, not as quick, not as mature, cognitively not as developed yet. And they're on their toes, because they always have to battle against kids that are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months older. Now, one way to tackle it, and Southampton is doing this, for example, they have youth tournaments by birth month. So they take, for example, 2005, January to June, and 2005, June to December. So they have 2 tournaments going on, and they invite teams, and they have to bring kids that are born in these particular months. So you have a better idea on the quality and the potential of the player. Some clubs even already do it by 3 months. So they have tournaments with partner clubs that they have, and they do it by 3 months. January, February, March, there's 1 tournament in each calendar year. Just get a better idea on the potential of a player. But most of them are still looking for those 4 ingredients. But most players have 3 ingredients, even at the professional level. We can take a player like Pirlo, for example, who now retired. Technically was unbelievable. His insight, his football intelligence was very high. He had a great personality as well. But on the speed side, he was lacking a little bit. But still was a great player. Balotelli. Technically, insight, speed, fantastic. But on the personality side, there's a few things that is lacking. So most players have 3 elements, and with 3, you can still become the best you can. So for optimal player development, you have structured training and games and tournaments, and you have the non-structured environment. That is what you need. It needs to be activated, that a player goes out on his own and masters skills. They know it when they do all the electronics. Go from one level to another level to another level. You can only go deeper in the levels if you practice. So they understand the concept. Some clubs already are also presenting training in levels. So they don't speak about warm-up and part 1, part 2 and game, but they say no, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 is the match. And the kids know, ooh, if we go quick, then level 4 is most exciting. Level 4 is where we want to be. So we have to talk sometimes in a little bit different language to the kids. The electronics is not something we can change. But we as educators, we have to change the models to make sure that we meet the needs of the children. And I like the example I gave, that speed and coordination is part of a program now. Core stability exercises, upper body exercise is part of a program now, and that is basically designed out of poverty, because the kids are not playing outside anymore. They're not climbing trees anymore. They're not jumping into the water. They're not doing the things that 20 years ago were normal. So now in academy models, you have to take care of the physicality, because the kids are not as equipped as they used to be back in the day. Okay. Any questions? Tim, how are we on time?
I think we'll start to transfer over soon enough. So, just to give everybody an overview, then Eddie's going to work with different age groups this evening over their training base over at Grosvenor Grammar School. If any of the coaches here from outside the club aren't too sure where that is, just come and ask me. We can go over and ask Convoy. At Grosvenor, we've got two areas that we're working in. One's the outdoor pitch, which is like an Astro-style pitch, and we've also got the indoor sports hall where the younger players will train. So, you know, feel free to come along, but just obviously be respectful for the areas that the coaches will be in, because it'll be like a normal training night, and the area will be working with each age group for about 30 minutes or so, you know. So obviously come, ask questions, stay sort of in the areas outside the coaching zones. We're fine because we've done the child protection in terms of anybody that wants to take photos or videos, you know, there's not really a problem at all. Anybody that's got any queries, you know, just come and speak with us. But it's great to have a lot of coaches down here from outside the club, and you're very welcome. Enjoy the sessions tonight. Eddie, maybe give just a quick overview of what he's going to work with each group. He's going to be working first of all with our under 16s, which is managed by Paul Kirk, and then just work around each group then thereafter. So if anyone's got any questions, Eddie, maybe give a quick overview of what he's going to work on.
Yeah, so with the 16s we'll do passing and probably 5 against 2 possession play with a couple of variations and a couple of progressions to see how I can change the football behavior, because that is the task of the educator. We want to change the football behavior of the children. When I'm indoor with the little kids, we do a warm-up game, so playful games to get them excited, to get them ready for training. So I need to see a smile on their faces there. And then with the middle groups, we do heading and we do technical training. So basically see if they are capable of working the left foot and the right foot at the same time in different variations.
Good. Yeah. So any final questions before we go across? No? Right, we're here. Thanks very much. Again, we extend our thanks to Orangefield Old Boys and Creative Sports Club for the use of their facilities. And anybody needs to look just on your way out there, and we look forward to seeing you work Grosvenor between 7 and 9 to training us tonight. Thank you. Thanks, Eddie.